Welcome to the Steve Ames Show with guitarist Sandy Renda, pianist Mike Yanuzzi, and my special guest, entertainer Spatz Donovan. And now on with the show. Chinatown, my Chinatown, where the lights are low, hearts that know no other land, drifting to and fro. Dreamy, dreamy Chinatown, almond eyes are brown, hearts seem light and lights shine bright in dreamy Chinatown. Chinatown, my Chinatown, where the lights are low, hearts that know no other land, drifting to and fro. Dreamy, dreamy Chinatown, almond eyes are brown, hearts are bright and stars are bright in dreamy China, dreamy, dreamy China, dreamy, dreamy Chinatown. No, we're not in Chinatown. We're right here on the front lawn of my home in Springfield, New Jersey. With the two summertime musicians from Belleville, New Jersey, at the guitar, Sandy Renda. From Rockaway, New Jersey, at the piano, Mike Yanuzzi. And here we are on a beautiful summer day celebrating the great outdoors. You know, in the summertime, I always get nostalgic for songs from the good old days. And here's one of my favorites. In her sweet little Alice blue gown, when she first wandered down into town, she was both proud and shy, as she felt every eye, and at every shop window she'd prim passing by. Then in manner of fashion she'd frown, as she felt every high all around, till it wilted she wore it, she'll always adore it, her sweet little Alice blue gown. Then in manner of fashion she'd frown, as she felt every high all around, till it wilted she wore it, she'll always adore it, her sweet little Alice blue gown. Well, Sandy and Mike, here we are in the front lawn of my home in Springfield, New Jersey, celebrating the summer. How are you enjoying the summer, Sandy?
Well, you know, I'm not a summer weather fan, but it's a beautiful day today and a beautiful setting here, Steve. So I'm enjoying it. Very nice.
Very good. And Mike, are you getting ready for your big vacation in Cape May?
We certainly are. We've been packing for days now and days. I haven't started packing yet, but I'll be there in 10 minutes. Yes, we're so looking forward to going to Cape May. Unfortunately, one of our favorite places down there that we like to frequent a lot, the Marion Inn, has closed, we heard, after the death of its owner, George Mesterhazy, who was a very, very good jazz pianist. We used to go listen to him and have a nice evening there. It was like right by where we stay, and we used to have just a nice little time there. So we're kind of sad that that place is closed. But, there's plenty of jazz down there. There's plenty of good music down there, and we look forward just to all of it.
Well, you have a great time, you and Shirlane, down in Cape May. And, Sandy, what's the big number for tonight?
This is a song by a great flamingo jazz guitarist who died recently. Unfortunately, his name was Paco de Lucia. The name of the song is called One for Paco.
One for Paco. Let's hear it for Sandy and Mike. special guest this evening has been coming on the show since 2005. He usually makes 2 appearances a year because he's so much fun to be with. And here he is now, entertainer extraordinaire, Spatz Donovan.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you, the 4 great crooners, the great pop singers, the original ones, the pioneers, back in the late 20s, early 30s, they were competing against each other, but they all were friends. Rudy Valley, Russ Columbo, the legendary Bing Crosby, and of course that philosopher of love. And filled with joy, from Paris, France, Maurice Chevalier. Well, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis paid homage, especially Jerry Lewis, to the great Maurice Chevalier in a motion picture called The Stooge. And, well, there was a song that Bing originally recorded, but Maurice grabbed a hold of it, and it became the handle for him. Every little breeze seems to whisper Louise. Birds in the trees seem to twitter Louise. Each little rose tells me it knows I love you, love you. Every little beat that I feel from the start seems to repeat what I feel from the start. Each little rose tells me it I knows I love you, Louise. Chance to see and hear you brings joy I never knew. Born to be so near you thrills me through and through. Anyone can see that I wanted your kiss. It had to be, but the wonder is this: can it be true? Someone like you could love me, Louise. Now you know, Maurice Chevalier. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows, if you knew, this great triple threat. Because he could make you laugh, he could make you cry. He was a philosopher of love, and he was international. Chevalier. Everybody in the world knew. Chevalier, he would philosophy, where he would say the difference between American men and French men concerning women. Well, he would say, you know, you American men, you are so crazy. First you see the woman, then you whistle, then you make with the love. But the Frenchman, he sees the woman, he makes with the love, and then he whistles. Every little breeze seems to whisper Louise. The birds in the trees seem to twitter Louise. Each little sigh tells me that I adore you. Jerry Lewis.
Adore you! Every little beat that I feel from my start feels from my heart. La 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 la.
Each little sigh tells me that I adore you.
Louise!
Chance to see and hear you. Oh, je suis enchanté de le bon mon ami. Thrills me through and through.
But to be so near you thrills me through and through.
Every little beat that I feel from my heart seems to repeat what I felt from the start.
Each little sigh tells me that I
Adore you. the French is so filled with love, but filled right from the heart of love. Louise.
Louise, play.
Spatz, thank you for coming back on the show.
I'm telling you, I feel like I'm elated.
Let's hear it for Spatz.
I feel like I'm in another galaxy, another planet. This is the Steve Ames show that just is always filled with joy.
Thank you. Thank
Filled
you.
with elation and fun, and you give so much every show. You give so much to your audiences, and you bring back treasures. Loveliness of memories that of time gone are the greats, and truly Americans have like just lustered in the greatness of wonderful sounds of great show business people, whether it be Hollywood or the music industry.
That's right.
And I'm just impressed because you know so many of the great songs.
Well, you
and
opened up
deliver
with
'em.
Chevalier. My mother saw Chevalier in person back in 1948 when he did his one-man show in Egypt.
Wow.
He was on a world tour. My mother got to see Chevalier in person, and now my mother gets to see Spatz Donovan in person. Huh? Isn't that great?
That's one step ahead of the sheriff right
That's
there.
right. And also Jerry Lewis. Now, listen, Spatz, when you were with us 2 years ago, we did a tribute to
Yes.
your dancing idol, Gene Kelly.
Oh, yes.
And when you were with us 3 years ago, you did a tribute to your acting idol, James Cagney.
Yes.
But tonight, you're going to do a tribute to your comedy idol, the great clown, Red Skelton.
One of them. He's one of my great comedy idols. And I got to tell you, and you know this, we've talked about this, that if you play in an urban area, people have other ideas of who their great comedians are. But if you go to middle America, the bread belt of America, any rural area of America, and you ask who's your favorite comic of all time, they'll say,
Red Skelton. Could you do a little Red Skelton for us?
you know, I would be honored. Yeah, can I tell you? Can I preempt it with a little story?
Yes.
I got to tell you, when I was
I was a little boy.
growing up in Racine, Wisconsin, in the Midwest, and Red's sponsor for his television show, which is one of the longest-running musical variety television shows of all time,
That's right.
his sponsor was S.E. Johnson, Johnson's Wax.
Johnson's Wax. That used to be Fibber, McGee, and Molly on the radio.
Thank you. And they were like about a mile away from the house where I grew up in.
That's right.
And so I always, I would never, as I was growing up, I begged my mom and dad to let me stay up late at night and watch Red Skelton. Why? Because he had heart. He could identify with his audience, and never a foul language, never dirty material.
That's right.
And he could really pluck the heartstrings on so many different levels. Pantomime, he was a great clown.
Yes, he was.
And he was a great monologuist with his delivery with jokes.
That's right.
And a great sketch comic.
He could do it all.
Yes, he was a triple threat.
That's right.
As you know.
As a comedian, yes.
And so, he was came from the golden age of television. So he was competing against Caesar and Imogen Coca
And Gleason and
Gleason
Burl.
and Bob Hope and all those
That's
people,
right.
Groucho, all those people from that genre.
Right.
And Skelton was I think just the American masses
Well, do a
embraced
little
him.
Red for us.
Okay, let's say like Freddie the Freeloader, and he'd always pull his hat up like this. And and he'd stick his hair out like this. And he would go like like Heathcliff and Gertrude.
Gertrude and
the-
Heathcliff.
The two seagulls.
Right.
Fly. Ding 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 ding. Two seagulls flying over Times Square. And Gertrude would turn to Heathcliff and say, "See, did you see that bald-headed man down there?" He said, "Yep. Yep. I spotted him." And he'd always, at the end of his show, he'd always say,
Good night, and may God bless.
Now, you had the pleasure of knowing Red Skelton. Tell the folks about that.
"Oh my God!" He performed at the Hollywood wax museum, Stars Hall of Fame in Orlando, Florida, and that's where I first met him. And we did we had a lot of fun there together.
And we've got some pictures to show you and Red Skelton
Oh,
together.
terrific. And of course, and then a few years later, I did a show with him, and it was a convention show. And I'd finished my act, and I was watching him from the wings, and Red passed out from heat.
Really?
Yeah. And he was playing at
An outdoor show?
No, it was an indoor
Indoor show,
convention
but it was
for
hot.
all doctors.
Really?
All doctors.
And he passed out in front of the doctors.
Yes, he says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And then he passed out, and they all laughed.
Was
just
that a
like,
gag?
Just like you did.
Right, was
no,
that a
it was
gag?
not a
That
gag.
was on the level.
He says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And he fell down, and he really did pass out.
Oh my God!
And they closed the curtains, and the manager and they got him too. You know, and about 20 doctors came up, and he only needed one or two. You
That's
know,
right.
and they got him. You know, they revived him. I got to tell you, I have seen almost every great act in show business. Red Skelton, above and beyond all, would always fill auditoriums, arenas, rooms, and bring them to a standing ovation, no matter where
He had great energy, too.
Great energy, and he was so multifaceted. But most important, he plucked the people's heartstrings. He really did. And sometimes a lot of critics would call him pretty corny, you know, and pretty like a hayseed or something like that. But you know what? People loved it. You know, when Red ever came on stage, he'd always say, they would introduce him and they would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, an American clown." And that's the way he would come out. They would never say Red Skelton. And I was so privileged and honored to know not only Red, but his wife as well. Her name was Lothran. And of course, they were selling and auctioning off his paintings. You know, he sold clown
He was also
paintings.
a painter, right?
Yes, and they were selling off props from his television show and costumes from the television show and things of this nature. And so I did the narrative, and I sat on a stool. And my friend Bev would come out, and he would do the Guzzler's Gin routine, which was the routine he was known for in his early career. And then I did the old man and the boy, watching the parade.
The pantomime.
The pantomime of the boy watching the parade go by.
Right.
And Mrs. Skelton cried uncontrollably. And so I'd like to read something to you. You know, Red always said a clown is a warrior who fights gloom. And it's so true. You know, we as Americans, we always think of clowns nowadays, especially stand-ups. They make fun of clowns. But internationally throughout the world, clowns are held in high regard.
That's right.
You know, as a shining, wonderful, the greatest of the greats. And but here's what Red used to say. I sincerely hope I haven't said or done anything to offend anyone. If I have, well, I didn't mean it. It is a lot of fun to try and make people laugh, regardless of what your heartache might be. While laughing for a few seconds, you have forgotten your troubles. Perhaps in your moments of sorrow, you'll remember something I've said or done, and it will bring a smile again on your face. And then Red would always say, as you know, Steve,
Good night, and may God bless.
Let's hear it for Spatz and Red Skelton's tribute. Well, Spatz, it's not time to say goodnight yet because you've got one more song to do for us.
oh, and I can't wait. Whenever I'm on your show with you, it's like I just want to flap my arms and fly to the moon.
And what's the name of the song?
You make me feel so young.
Thank you, Spatz Donovan.
My absolute pleasure. You make me feel so young. You make me feel like spring has sprung. Every time I see you grin, you're such a crazy individual. The moment that you speak, my dear, I want to run and play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I, we're just like a couple of tots running round the meadow, gathering up those forget-me-nots. You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, lots of bells to be rung, and a wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do, hep, hep, today, because you make me feel so young, 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 young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel like spring has sprung. And every time I see that smile, you knock me out, baby, a mile, a mile. The moment that you speak, my dear, I want to run and play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. Because you and I, we're just like a couple of tots running round the meadow, snatching up all those forget-me-nots. You make me young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, lots of bells to be rung, and a wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, baby, I want to feel the way I do, hey now, today, because you make me feel so, man, you make me feel so, you make me feel so young, so young, so young, young.
What can you say about George M. Cohan, the most patriotic man in show business, and also one of the most versatile? Actor, singer, dancer, producer, director, playwright, and composer of some of America's most beloved songs. He was also an Irishman, and he wrote a song about an Irishman, and here it is. H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N spells Harrigan. Proud of all the Irish blood that's in me. Devil a man can say a word agin me. H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N-U-C. It's a name that a shame never has been connected with Harrigan. That's me. Oh, H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N spells Harrigan. I'm proud of all the Irish blood that's in me. Devil a man can say a word agin me. H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N-U-C. It's a name that a shame never has been connected with Harrigan. That's me. Well, I want to thank all my friends for coming out tonight on this very special summertime show. And also my mother is in the audience. Let's hear it from my mother, Josette. And my mother will be celebrating her birthday July 27th. So happy birthday to my mother. Let's hear it for our guitarist, Sandy Renda, our pianist, Mike Yanuzzi, and our special guest star, Spatz Donovan. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with that old-time throng. Just give my regards Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long.
Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street. Jimmy Cagney will be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Old Broadway and say that I'll be there, George M. Cohan style.
Give our regards to Old Broadway and tell them we'll be there ere long.